Boker Tov, Boker Or, Boker.
So I watched some of the clips from Lenny.
Did you see that they wrote?
He's like, it looks like the time of when the Beatles.
The Times of Israel. They wrote that article. That
Remember the Beatles, all the people were jumping up and down and waving their hands and screaming.
Yeah, Slack Rock.
They were doing mamish. They were going wild.
So you saw the clips. Did you read the article?
Yeah.
Oh, very nice. So you can see.
Nice.
And it's an award-winning documentary. That's that they interviewed me for the documentary.
Well, he's just he's knocking over the post.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so I wanted today Boker Tov U'Mati Shehayom זה תשעה ושלושים יום שהם חמישה שבועות וארבעה ימים לעומר. 39th day of the Omer. Yes, sir. What did you want to say, Tzvi?
No, I was thinking that it would. I was wondering if how Lenny would go over in the Nachal Haredi for the soldiers, but I don't think the soldiers would connect to that.
What about Ani Yehudi? Did you hear his Ani Yehudi?
Yeah.
That is perfect for the army. You kidding? Nachal Haredi, and you know something? It's interesting you say that because Mati Kornfeld, we had Kolot HaNitzachon during the Yom Kippur War, and Lenny was, Shlak Rock is, because the Chayalim are not really into the rock and roll music, but especially the old time. But he does have all sorts of themes, and I think it'd be good. You want me to raise it with him? Poor guy, he's not in great shape yet. He's not ready. But Mirz Hashem, it's something to think about. Anyway, I want to start the shir off. Usually on Nachta B'Ivrit. I want to dedicate this for my dear friend who's only passed 2 years ago, Henry Horowitz, Naftali Bendit Ben Kasriel, the beloved husband of Frida, and who was Nolad ב-1945, born 1945, ונפטר ב-2023, 2 years ago, 2023. He studied, and by the way, there is a memorial lecture by Mayor Lichtenstein next Thursday. If anybody wants the details, I'll post it. But it turns out that for both Henry and Morty Feuerstein, turns out that Morty is a cousin of Henry, and that Henry's grandfather was Samuel Feuerstein. So that's the, and we were talking about Malden Mills. That was Aaron Feuerstein.
Aaron Feuerstein, right.
Yes, so
it was called Malden Mills?
Yes, it was called Malden Mills. The famous story
about how Mill's brother.
About how the factory burnt down, and technically he could have collected insurance proceeds for himself, but what he did is he made sure that all those people, the employees, would continue, Jew, non-Jew, whoever worked for him, that they should get their salary during the end of the year.
Yeah, because it was the time to be jolly.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, in other words, he realized.
He wanted to be Messiah then.
Right. He was dedicated.
Kiddush Hashem.
Kiddush Hashem, exactly. That's the way it was publicized. Anyway, let's get back to Henry. Henry studied at MDS. I got that from an article, Frida, and also after he went to Highline, and after that to Rabbeinu Yaakov Yosef, RJJ. He was a boger of Yeshivat Yisrael Chanan Ritz. He was Talmud Muvak of Rav Soloveitchik, Rav Yosef Dov, and also Aaron Soloveitchik. He got his smicha from YU in 1969. He also went to the Bernard Revel Graduate School, and he got his PhD in 1975, dedicated from MIT in molecular biology.
Wow.
Oh,
he had brains.
Yes, he did. He did, Baruch Hashem. He was very, very smart. His family, the Feuerstein, Horowitz.
PhD at MIT?
PhD, yes.
Wow. Nicht der Push der Sach.
Yes, nicht der Push der Sach. They were supporters of, the family was supporters of Hichziku et Torah Masora, the OU, Maimonides School. Well, Moshe Henry, and that's how I got to know him, actually.
Is that why he stayed in Brookline? Because he was in... Came to, or he was...
Oh, that's right. He was very active in Brookline. They lived in Brookline, he and Frady. And they made Aliyah in 1980, I have it written down, 83.
That's when I made Aliyah.
It was made the same year.
So how could I not know him?
Okay, he was a leading member of the Brookline community.
Where did he daven?
Well, I'll have to ask Frida.
Ask Frida.
And if you show up to the...
I bet you he davened by Rabbi Twersky.
Could be. That sounds familiar.
That's why I wouldn't know him. All the brilliant guys.
Oh, stop that. Stop
it. Over there.
I'm no makabel. This is a Lashon Hara thing. I'm not makabel. Anyway, I wanted to continue and say that the reason that Henry and I share together, we were both very active in Yavne, the National Religious Students Association, which was the Frum Hillel across all the campuses, Canada and U.S., and we had our chapters all over, and he was national president in 1966, 67. I was national president 67, 68, and he also had a second term in 1971, 72, and I'm told that he almost had a third term, and that's how dedicated he was. You have to understand that Yavne was not supported by any parent association. There were different organizations that tried to adopt us, like the OU.
Well, what did Yavne do?
What we did was we had... Are we still broadcasting?
We're still broadcasting.
Okay. I think it's one of these dramatic moments that Tzvi prepares. That
just at the right time, we bring him down.
No, there's Shmayo, by the way. If he needs a ride, we can give it to him. And he's going in our direction, by the way. So what you asked what they did, we actually made kosher kitchens. In Princeton, we actually had what's called an eating club, and we even landed up in court because there was a whole issue of whether Richie Mandelbaum was the president after me, and he was from Princeton, and Herman Wouk's grandson, Nate, was there, and we provided for religious lectures, philot, and even Megillah readings all throughout the campuses. Malcolm Hoenlein was, if you know the name,
I know him.
Pennsylvania. He was in Pennsylvania, was one of our chapters. Anyway, so let me continue. Henry was actually president. He was active in Yavne for 10 years. And he was he dedicated to the life of Yavne. He also is the director of the alumni, president of the Alumni Association of Israel. We're going to pick up Israel.
There's a big truck behind me.
Okay. Let's see, Ishmael walking in our direction?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see.
So I want to continue and say that his children he has 5 children, Yossi, Cyril, Shlomo, Yeshayahu, and Shmuel. And he regularly attended the Grus Kollel, where he heard Shiurim from Avraham Lichtenstein.
No, he's crossing over the street to the other way.
Okay. So maybe you could have hunk a horn. Well,
anyway.
He's
with a lady.
Okay, so we don't want to interrupt him. So anyway, Sachakol, Henry was a fantastic, very involved member of the community, and I would sum it up by saying was a man of integrity. How would you say integrity? Yashrus. He was loyal. Ernstkeit, loyal, responsible, Ish halacha, Yashar, Mokir Rabbanim, Talmid Chacham, and he had Achbal Achrayas, and Osek B'tzorchei Tzibur Be'emuna. So really, the Neshama Zahabna Leah Henry.
How do you spell his last name?
Horwitz. And if anybody's, I'm going to post
Horwitz.
And I'm going to post in our Kvutza. I'm going to post the memorial lecture that will be in honor of Henry and his cousin Morty Feuerstein. next Thursday. Okay, so the yahrzeit is today, Chav Daled Iyar, and we just passed Shmayo on the way. Belechtecha, Rabbi Lezer Tzvi Safran Komrana. Komarna. It's in Hungary. And Yisrael Shalom Yosef ben Chaim Hager. That's the also the yahrzeit from okay. And Binyamin ben Menachem Mendelson. And we'll talk about those of the yahrzeit today, but we should actually do their Tehillim. And we are up to, I'm going to make sure you know which
text.
Yes, we are at Nun Tes. Here we go. You know. אלוהי ישראל, so לפקוד כל הגויים, סלווה ישוב, הנה יבין בפיהם חרבות ושפותיהם, כי אני שומע, ואתה אדוני תשחק למו, תלעג לכל גויים, וזו אליך אשמור, כי אלוהים נשגבי, אלוהי חסי יקדמני, אלוהים יעלני שורי, אל תרגן, פן שכו עמי, הגיענו בחלקו נולדנו, הגיענו אלו אדוני, חטאת עמו דבר צמאנו, יכל נם, מעולם מקחת שנפנו, חלה והמה, חלה ואינמו, ידעתי מאלוהים, אשר ביעקב, יעשה ארץ ישראל, ישובו ערב יעמו חטאות, סובבו יהיה, המה, נכון, אם לא יסתרו ואני ישך, חסדך, יזכב לי, ומנוס ביום שר לי, עוזי אליך, כי אלוהים יזכב, אלוהי חסדי. למנצח אל תשחס לדוד מכתב משלוח שאול die Tfila hat Mispala gewähnt, wenn Shaul HaMelech hat geschickt Menschen, wie Yishmru et Abayis, und sie haben gehitten das Haus, wo David Melech hat sich behalten, La Miso, im Saharganin. That's one pasuk, but we'll go to another one. Hatzileni me'oivei Elokai, sei mich Matzel Rebbeinu Shalom, von meiner Feind ist enemies, mi muss kamemi von die was stehen auf gegen mir, tesagveni sollt mich starken. That's it. Achenu
Kol Beis Yisrael.
Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael. Anesulim b'tzara, b'tzara u'v'shivya, omdim ben beyomu ve'im b'yabasha. Hamakom yirachem aleim yotziei mitzara, l'revacha u'mefel l'yara, u'mishibud l'geula hasta b'gala u'vizman karim. Nomar amen. Aryeh Leib ben Chai Tuba, we talked all about you, Lenny. Yara Nisim ben Ofra, Michal ben Amisara, Pesach Yosef ben Hinda, Aaron Tzvi ben Chama, Binyamin Daniel Marglis, Chaim Daniel ben Hoyai, Yisrael ben Imbal Esther, Ashira Rus, Bat Rivka, Barak ben Tamar, Pinchas Daniel ben Sarah, Yair ben Rachel Leah, Moshe ben Frieda Leah, Ravid Chaim ben Seila, and for Zivug Noah, Shalom ben Bela, I understand things are going on. Avram Shalom ben Rachel, Yaakov ben Rus, Yisrael Nissen ben Rachel. Mir sehnen bei mein Stub, aber mir willen Herren neue Wörter. Efter, hat ein neues Wort für uns.
Anaya Wort von uns, Anaya Wort von uns, Anaya Wort von uns. Uns.
We definitely cannot make the Yiddish lock
I
rock.
made a lot of mistakes yesterday.
Oh, really? You're happy?
So let's see if there's anything which is...
We can learn.
Learn from my mistakes. 10 mistakes.
10? Boy, you learned 10 words.
Yeah. So, how do you say the edge? The edge of the room.
Pina.
Eck.
Eck. I was just thinking.
Der Eck.
Eck.
Der Eck von dem Zimmer.
Eck. The border, actually. Eck.
Der Eck von dem Zimmer.
From the room.
And then
What the Eck?
Yeah. How do you say 1.5 times?
Under a halb? On a halb?
Ooh, I'm
sign.
impressed. I have 1.5 times as much. How would you say that? I have 1.5 times as much. Chob.
Chob. Under halb.
Without ich. Just chob.
Chob. Under a halb.
How do you say that word again? Undertalben? Undertalben.
Underhalb.
With a test in the middle.
Yeah, unterhalb.
Undertalben.
Okay.
Yeah.
Times, how do you say?
Underhalben.
Mol.
Mol. As much. Azoy viel.
Azoy viel, right.
Chob. Undertalben mol. Azoy viel.
Wow, okay. That's not, wasn't, it, the words individually were okay, but to put them in a sentence, that's...
Undertalben.
Machen a binyan.
1.5 times.
By the way, are you at all looking at Blech, or you gave up? You're not really interested in looking at it?
Blech.
The idiot.
No, so I told you, I found the chapter on grammar is actually...
But it's not only one chapter, there are different chapters.
Yeah.
If you look through the table of contents...
That's what I was doing.
He has different parts where he says, this is what you should know.
But even when I read that, I feel like an idiot. Because I don't...
I know, you don't like transliteration.
No, because I don't understand. I don't mitchaber to the grammar.
Well, guess what? You're absolutely right. I had a disconnect. When I was reading it, I said, okay, now let me adapt it. Let me think how I'm going to use it. And I couldn't. I couldn't really, because the truth of the matter is, language is what you speak, context, listening.
Right.
And it's not, what we're doing is we're picking up, building blocks. But really, language is
So the parts that I'm still reading.
Okay, good. Because and ata maskim iti sheyesh lo flair. He has a special, in his writing, there's a tongue-in-cheek, and there's a lot of stuff that has a Rav you wouldn't expect him to be so proficient in. Every so often he brings in things that a little, what would you say? I'm not, it's interesting. Makes an interesting reading.
Yeah.
And it's for the hedyot, not the idiot, for the hedyot. It's not the mumche. The mumche would not want to read this book.
Did you ever think about that? The idiot and hedyot are the same?
Yes, I did.
You did?
Because I have many books. Usually I read for dummies. But this one is a special book I wrote for idiots. So, I mean...
Who's on a higher madrega?
A dummy or an idiot?
Dummy.
Okay. Anyway, with that, this is a Shmiras Haloshon shir, so we don't want to even talk about Lashon. These are all Lashon Saginah.
They know the Mason is Satzmo Rushes, but we can't talk about ourselves.
That's right, Rush. And I'm not going to rush out of here. Here we go. Chaim Tovim!
You're not Russian.
Yeah. Anyway... So, and you had stories about the Feuersteins. You say you're very close to Henry and his family.
His children, three of his children
Henry, Morty, and Esther?
No, it's Henry's children.
Oh, Henry's children.
Henry's oldest daughter, Hannah, is married to Rav Zev Reichman, who's the Rav of the Shul in Inglewood. He's also a Musmach from YU. Very, very special person. Hannah was a bas bayis for 3 years. And Sruli, it's a son. He was a ben bayis. He was in KBY.
Kerem B'Yavne. So when you say bias, when they were here in Israel, they stayed with you in Bai Vagan.
They used to come to us a lot for Shabbos. Yeah. And who else? And Yoshua. Yoshua actually, they have 2 children that live here. Henry, both of them are tremendous Talmidei Chachamim.
So I'm most probably going to meet them next week.
One of them lived in. One of them learned in the Kol Chazavish.
So I'm going to send regards to you. Maybe you want to show up there.
Maybe.
I'll put in the chat.
Put it in the chat. Where is it going to be?
It's going to be. I forgot the name of the shul, but here in Yerushalayim.
And what is it? Somebody's giving a shir.
Meir Lichtenstein. I think that's Rav Aaron Lichtenstein's son. So he's going to give on something the Ramban and the Rambam on Har Sinai.
Really?
So I'll post it in the chat.
That'd be interesting. I think I remember Meir. I think he was a little boy.
Well, Henry was very close to Rav Aaron and Tova.
Yeah, he was very close to the Rav. So
and I told you, I was close to Rav Aaron Lichtenstein's father, Yechiel Lichtenstein, who taught French in BTA, but I took Latin. Anyway. Okay, so I'll post it.
On that note,
Chaim Tovim! Here we go. Okay. אנחנו ממשיכים את השיעור, ואנחנו דיברנו הרבה על Jewish geography, אתה מכיר את זה, מישהו מכיר את זה, but the memory of Henry is still very vivid in my mind, very close and active. To know that Yavne was a movement for students right now more than ever on college campuses, בכל הקמפוסים בארצות הברית יש את האנטי-סמיטיק, אנטי-שמיות וגם כן אנטי-ארץ ישראל, וזה נורא ואיום, אז צריכים חיזוק, כמו הלל זה לא מספיק. ביבנה זה היה ממש עם שיעורים, וזה שיהיה כשר. יהיה אוכל כשר על הקמפוס, וגם כן יידישקייט. אוקיי, אנחנו לא דיברנו בכלל על היורצייטים של היום, אז נגיד, כ"ד אייר, רבי אליעזר צבי בן יצחק אייזק יהודה יחיאל ספרין מקומרין נולד בזידיצ'וב ב-1830 ונפטר בקומראן ביום כ"ד אייר שזה היום. רבותיו היו רב יהודה צבי מרודזל, רב יצחק אייזק מזידיצ'וב. רבי אליעזר צבי אמר שמאביו למד רק תורס הנגלה. פעם אחת למד אביו איתו גם תורס הנסתר, אך הפסיק. אז פרץ רבי אליעזר צבי בבכי והחליט שמי שלימד את אביו ואת סבו הוא ילמד אותו. ואז הביא לו את הספר עץ חיים של רב חיים ויטל, שממנו למדו אביו וסבו. רבי אליעזר צבי היה במהרה מגדולי חכמי הקבלה שבדורו. בברכת רבי יצחק אייזק מזידיצ'וב נישא את חנה שרה בת הנגיד רבי יוסף שיין מטורקה לאישה. בשנת 1874 נתמלא לפי צוואת אביו למלא למקומו. אביו מעצמו הכתירו לפני מותו לאדמו"ר. משמשו היה המוהל רב אברהם מוישה אפשטיין, גם הרבה חסידי זידיצ'וב היו לחסידיו. היה מאוד רגיש, כמו אביו, לחלומות. אחרי השריפה שפרצה בל"ג בעומר, ב-1965 עבר לגור בשצ'ריץ. ילדיו, רב מנחם מנש מפילשטיין, רב פנחס נסן מריליק, Yaakov Moshe Mamali Makoma Bekomreno, Avram Mordechai Mebursa. Hu Chiber, Ora Einayim, Inyanei Kabbalah, Lefi Aleph Beis, Alfi L'Shnei Achalakim, Svarim Elohim Ma'od Chavivim Lo Soru Mishulchanam Shal Emor Levavich, Gab Ken Chiber Ben Beisi, Al Bereshis, Al Pi Ha'ori, Ben Beisi, Al Tehillim, Domestic Eliezer, Shiva Krachim, Pirush Mefurid Al Zohar, Zakem Beisi, Al Pirkei Avos. היום זה גם כן יורצייט של ישרואל שלום יוסף בן חיים הגר, שנולד ב-1883 ונפטר ב-1944, אחרי פטירת אביו ב-1932 החל לכהן כאדמו"ר מאנטוניה, גליציה. הוא נרצח על ידי הנאצים ימח שמם עם אשתו ושלושת ילדים. היה מגזע קוסוב, הוא חיבר נפשי ישי. היום זה גם כן יורצייט של בנימין בן מנחם מנדלסון. נולד ב-1904 ונפטר ב-1979, נולד בפולין. הפך לחסיד גור בימיו של אברהם מרדכי אלתר מגור, שהשפיע עליו לעלות לארץ ישראל ב-1934 ומונה לרב ביישוב כפר עתה. ב-1952 היה רב במושב קוממיות, והוא היה מעורב עם הפרשת חטיפת הילד יוסף שוחמאכר. הוא היה פעל בעניין שמיטת בלי היתר מכירה וגם בקרן השביעית. עד כאן היורצייטים של היום כ"ד אייר. אנחנו ממשיכים את מה שאתם רוצים דיבה ואומרים. אנחנו מדברים על כלב ויפונה, כלב ויהושע, איך שדיברו על המרגלים, ואומרים שדקדקתם היטב. המרגלים אמרו שהם דקדקו היטב לראות וראיתם שהאוויר הרע, גם אנחנו עברנו לתורה זו. כלב אמר שגם אנחנו ראינו את האוויר, אבל זה לא היה רע, ודקדקנו לראות וראינו שטוב הארץ מאוד מאוד. מה שאתם עושים דיבה, לשון הרע, על ארץ ישראל, אנחנו רואים שזה טוב מאוד. והטענה הראשון שאתם אומרים שהבטחת הקדוש ברוך הוא ונתיר את הארץ היא דווקא אם נהיה צדיקים. מה שאתם אומרים שזה בתנאי, היא טעות מעיקרה. הקדוש ברוך הוא אינו מדקדק על אדם לומר, הושיעך רק באופן שתהיה צדיק. Hashem does not require for you to acquire an Eretz Yisrael if you're tzadikim. Rak omer lo oshiachem tiyeh mored. All I ask of you is you don't have to be a tzaddik, but don't be a rebel. Chas v'sholem. Ozeh simo Yeshua v'kalev v'amru ach b'Hashem al timrodu. Because man she'ein adam mored b'HaKadosh Baruch Hu la'akar mitzvosah b'kavana. As long as someone doesn't intentionally rebel, it's mumar, lahachis or mumar. If a person intentionally does not want to do mitzvos, yuchal kavas l'kol tov, he could always wish for good. Mashatem miyorim et am, and now you're causing fear, trying to terrorize the people. Kisham yeshna manshe milos v'anakim, that they don't go there because there are giants. Al tiru et am haaretz ki lachmenohim. Don't be fearful of these people because there's like bread. Ki lachmenohim. Why? Ki im yizamin lifnei adam lechem gadol achila. Or if someone would see a gigantic loaf of bread, shahu gavoa kamei ama, which is up 100 cubits height, yeh yorei legesher elav. Would you be afraid to approach that inanimate object? There's nothing that could you any trouble. It's there for you to partake of and to eat and to have pleasure from it. Afghan, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, and Kalev says, that from the giants and from the inhabitants of Eretz Yisrael that they saw, Hashem hipil aleim emasu v'fachad, they were fearful. Ve'ein lahem ve'hem lanu la'achila. They're easy for us to devour, so to speak. K'mo d'chsiv, v'achaltes kol ha'amim. You shall devour all the people. Ki anakim im kol takvam gvosim, with all their frightening nichna libam, yoter misharam. The vayu nichbaim, we're hiding out. Baharim, the Arim, mountains, cities, absurd, and fortified cities. K'mo d'chsiv, vayavo Yoshua be'esai vayachar esei anakim min ha'ar, min Chevron, min Dvir, min Anav, and Mikol Har Yehuda, v'chein, v'yelech Yehuda b'Chevron, v'yaklu et Shishai, v'et Chiman, v'et Tamai. We see that Yoshua had no problem in destroying the enemies and destroying the giants. Anyway, Ad Kan Halimud Shel Hayom, Nachnu Achlim Kulam, Yom Tov, Shmuot Tovot, B'sorot Tovot.